down below, you have two more pieces of information that Google gives you for the keyword phrase that you're searching. And once again, the more generalized that you have gotten with your keyword phrase here, then the better information that you're actually going to be provided in these two areas down here. Now, this graph is again going to be based on your targeting options over here. So since I've selected United States, then it is providing me with a map of the United States, and then I can hover over specific states within this list, and it will give me a search volume index number, just like these numbers that were being used over here. So I look for the state that has a 100, and this tells me that out of all of the states in the entire country, that Montana is actually seems to be the #1 state that is interested in this niche, and as a result may potentially be the #1 state that is actually buying this type of product. So you could use this information when it comes down to bringing in additional traffic to your websites, especially if you decide to run some type of advertising campaign for your niche. For example, you pick particular states that might be a lot more likely to buy your products than others, and then certain states you might want to completely ignore. West Virginia, Wyoming, South Dakota, they're all showing up with an index of 0. Now, again, just like with the graph, if you get an index of 0, don't necessarily consider it to be 0. It could possibly be low traffic, but simply not enough for it to have recorded the traffic for that particular area. Now, you have other options here where you can drill down and actually be provided some metro areas where the product is more popular. Salt Lake City area shows to be one of the most popular metro areas for this particular product. And then you can even do the same thing in terms of cities. San Francisco and Seattle look to be some of the two most popular cities in terms of search engine traffic for this particular niche. Over here on the right-hand side, you also have related terms. This is, again, very similar to the information provided in the keyword planner, except you are provided with index numbers here again to gauge the general popularity of these particular phrases. And you can actually just click on any one of these phrases and it will completely change your trends. These related search terms over here, you could use these for additional research and try to figure out what terms might be more popular or perhaps the rising terms within your niche. They actually offer you another tab over here that says rising, and it will tell you which particular keyword phrases are increasing their traffic. And obviously it's going to rank these from the highest increased one down to the lowest increased one and give you a total of 10 different phrases here. So I can actually see here that above anything else, these two particular keyword phrases, which both essentially mean the same exact thing, these two phrases are sharply increasing, a lot more so than any of the other ones. There are a lot of people interested in washing their down comforters or information about it, and that demand has increased. But the alternative down comforter seems to be the #1 rising area of this particular niche. So I can use this information again when it comes to my keyword research, my niche selection, maybe even my domain name selection, and even targeting the products that I'm going to be promoting on my site, and put myself in the best possible position, because you don't just want to cover the actual niche itself, but you want to cover the niche in a modern way that will ensure you the longest amount of success with the website that you are building. I flip over to the down alternative niche, and you can see that this increase is not necessarily just recent. This has been happening over recent years. And something very, very big to pay attention to here are the years of the declining economy. Those were right in here, but there's hardly any decline whatsoever in this particular niche. From 2008 over to 2010, there was a very, very minor drop. The index dropped from 61 to a 54, only a 7-point decrease. Whereas then immediately after that, you actually had the peak year within the last 8.5 years on this entire niche was just last winter. And so if any of these recent data and indications could potentially be true, then the winter of 2013 could be an even better year possibly for this particular niche. So the down alternative comforters could definitely be a major, major part of this website that I am building simply because of this information that I figured out. You can't absolutely get blinded by these sharp increases in the Google Trends because you don't necessarily know how much traffic there is for this particular term or interested in this particular type of product. These numbers, again, are just generalized numbers relative to the traffic from other points that's being measured here. So if you want actual numbers, then you would need to take that term, go over to Google's keyword planner, and actually get the exact numbers then that you would be looking for. So I could come over here and search for down alternative and find out some more relevant numbers that would actually apply to this niche. The average monthly count here is 590. But then if you look at the traffic that's out there for it, the peak month in the winter of 2012 was 880 monthly searches. So I could then return to this same graph for the same keyword phrase, and this is for down alternative. It peaked out at 100 in November of 2012. That's that same month. So I could assign a traffic level of 880 to this right here, and in essence figure out what some of these other traffic levels may have been. So back in December of 2007, where this was at a 61, this may have been 400 or 500 monthly searches or even less that were being received on this particular phrase during the peak season for these previous years. So this is definitely a major, major increase, and this is actually an increase that involves hundreds of people and not just a couple of people. Because obviously if this point only represented 100 monthly searches, then you might only be talking about a difference or an increase of 40 people a month. So you always want to make sure that you can actually relate these numbers to real traffic numbers before you jump to any kind of a decision on this. One last thing here, the down comforters. Obviously, some of the popular states that were popular for the down comforter niche are still popular for the alternative niche. But something else that you may actually notice is that you have other states where the alternative is very, very popular compared with how the popularity of it may have been in the same state for just the down comforters. Like my state here, I live in South Carolina. I have a 95 index on my particular state. Allergies are probably one of the number one reasons because you have tons of pollen out here. So you have a lot of kids that are already diagnosed with allergies that relate to other types of things. And so these are your parents that are typically more aware of these situations and then maybe purchasing these products. Whereas the middle of the country here, almost completely non-existent, the demand, or at least it's significantly lower than it is anywhere else in the country.